Paul, so just looking at the Tier 2 proposal that's come in from John Horan, and you were at a media event with him yesterday as well. Is it something that you kind of brought this up with him to say there's supposed to be a fixture task force that will deliver recommendations in November, and now you're looking to push this through in October?
Yeah, we've had ongoing discussions about it, and even as recent as 2 weeks ago, and we outlined that the workings of this Fixtures Taskforce have been excellent. The findings that they're coming up with, are what they're exploring, because they're still in that phase, is really interesting. And it's not just about the calendar year and fitting in club, county, colleges, but also about part of it is structural reform to the current system, in particular in the football, and actually only in football. And I just feel that if there's a Tier 2 championship being brought in, or a concept of it, or a format of it, surely we should wait for what the Fixtures Taskforce are going to come up with regards to recommendations. Like there's an excellent group there with the Fixtures Taskforce. We're on it, and the CPA are on it. You've got different county boards, CEOs on it, and provincial council delegates. And I just think that we should get, because we have great minds in the one room, coming up with a solution to a very complex area. I think we should allow them to finish off their findings.
So what's happening? I mean, if you were being cynical from the outside looking in, it's almost a smokescreen. We'll distract you in the corner with the fixture task force, but we're really going to press on with our own thing. Is that how it feels?
I'm not entirely sure what the reason for it is. What I do know is that, like, if the Fixtures Taskforce come with recommendations, that they can be taken to Congress, in early next year. So, whatever happens then, it could be short-lived. What happens at special Congress? So, from my perspective,
that can overrule it, can it?
That can overrule it. So, from my perspective, it doesn't make that much sense, and I'm struggling to really understand it. And maybe if you speak to the GAA direct, they might be able to explain it a little bit better than I can. But I think it's important that players understand that the current situation and proposal going to Special Congress is that if you're a Division 3 or Division 4 squad in football, if you lose your first round of the championship, you go into a Tier 2. You don't get a second bite at the cherry. And one of the things that, when we're asking players around, do they want a Tier 2 and what should it look and feel like, they want more games, and that's this new competition structure doesn't give them any more games potentially, or potentially it does if you win, but if you lose, you could lose 2 games and your season is over anyway. And where is there room for development for the lower tier teams there? And I think that's a critical point in the whole thing. And from some of the soundings from the Fixtures Taskforce and some of the potential recommendations that could be going forward, they are looking at more games, for all teams. And I think there's a real appetite out there. I remember earlier on this year, Kieran Donaghy, he did a proposal of what a new football structure might look like. I think you might have did an interview with him on it, maybe not, but it got such traction because people are interested in this area. People want a new look and feel to the championship. If we give credit to the GAA for the hurling championship restructure, which there's still a bit of tweaking that can be done to that to improve it, absolutely. But when you look at the start of the year, there's how many teams could win it? Eight teams potentially, maybe more. And I think that's just, if you can get that type of competition, and it kind of goes back to our competitive balance policy and our recommendations, that we feel that group, could help with that also.
And you're now a club player, having retired from Dublin, and as a fellow club player and wanting to see that revamped, I see that's an encouraging thing, because you're going to be feeling the same frustrations, which you probably may have felt for many years anyway. How central is sorting out the club situation to what you want to do in terms of a fixture review?
Yeah, I think the first part to understand is that all inter-county players are club players too. So,
but a lot of them are in a bubble, and they come back to club at the end of the season, and it's run off. And I don't know if it's their central focus 12 months of the year.
Yeah, but no, it can't be, because the inter-county games is all encompassing. But at the same time, they still are club players. So, club championship is very important to inter-county players, and ideally you have a situation where the structure is set up that it allows them to flourish in their club as they do in their county. Because for many years I went back to my club and I wasn't able to give them even 90% of my best, because I was nursing injuries or I was just pushed to the pin of my collar for so long that I needed downtime. And I think there needs to be that needs to be taken into that's why I say inter-county players are club players too, because any structure reform has to protect the player and not flog the inter-county player. In many ways they'll be the ones who play colleges, they'll play county, and then they'll play club. I think there's a lot of good done in regards to changes that some county boards have taken themselves. For instance, in Dublin, this season I experienced probably the busiest calendar year I've had in 10 years, longer, with regards to the number of games that I played at club level, because I played, I think I played 10 football games throughout the course of the summer. And we really value the league, and many teams in Dublin do value the league, and I think in county boards across the country they're going to have to set up competitions that people and players have a competition where that runs off without the inter-county players, like the league, and it's valued. And because for many clubs they're not going to win a championship, but yet all they do is they put all their investment into the championship. And if there's a chance that they can win the league, they should be investing in that. And I think that's something that needs a cultural change as much as a structural change.
Where do you see funding and player expenses and the idea of pay for play going in the next few years?
Yeah, I think it's important that players are supported, whether it's through our programs or whether it's through cost reimbursement, that they have to pay for their participation in inter-county games. And we've got a crew of professionals around nearly every team across the country, and when I say that, I say that nearly everyone's getting paid, and the only people who don't are the players. And I'm not advocating that they should be paid. All I'm saying is that they should be supported, and that support can come through programs, and it can also come through their expenses.
Dublin against Kerry, completing the 5 in a row. Can you kind of sum up your memories of the final whistle for that?
You're changing subjects here at the rate of knots, I tell you. It's hard to keep up with you. It was, I have to say, it was fantastic. When I say I needed it because there was some great games in football this year, and I'm playing hurling now with the club, so I'm a dual player.
Scoring 3 points from play, I believe.
Yeah, hacking over, but no, it's. But I wanted football to be have an excellent year, and them 2 games with Kerry and Dublin, will go down in history in my eyes, because fantastic games. That first half in the replay, 10 points all, 1 free, just that game was exceptional. The quality on show, and both teams going out to win, both teams going out with an offensive strategy. And I've been saying this for some time now, that if you look at the Premiership and how that's changed over the last number of years, City, Liverpool, these teams are going out to win. They're pressing high up the field, and it's so attractive to watch. And I've started watching more Premiership as a result of it. And I think now if we can get that in football, which that's what Kerry and Dublin did, there's no better game in the world, apart from hurling, you'll say. But I don't compare the both, because they're both brilliant. But we have 2 special games that we can then be very, very proud of.
Why do you think Dublin got across the line?
It's a look, to pinpoint why is quite difficult. I think it was just because they were more clinical than Kerry in the second half.
Is that too simplistic?
It probably came into it because if you think, they're probably a couple of years further along the journey than Kerry are. Conditioning is something that you build over the course of your career, and you layer on year. You don't typically lose the condition that you had from the year before. You just layer onto it. So when Kerry layer on a couple of years of conditioning, there's some players, it's frightening to see the quality that they had. And that's what made the game so special, because Paul Gainey kicked the point just before half time, and he caught the ball in the middle of the field. He ran the pitch and just pinged it over, and it was just outrageous. It was outrageous. And throughout the first half, Clifford kicked some just magic points, and it just had that feel of a special game of football, and you knew you were witnessing something special. And personally, I was delighted that I was able to enjoy it, while retiring and being a part of that squad at the start of this year, but equally just being able to enjoy the game, and and to internally be delighted for the Dublin lads.
Thanks very much, Paul.
All right, good man.